The Holy Gospel according to Mark, the 4th chapter. Glory to you, O Lord. On that day when evening had come, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took Jesus with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat so that the boat was already being swamped. But Jesus was asleep in the stern. And they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we're perishing?" And waking up, Jesus rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Be silent, be still." Then the wind ceased, and there was a dead calm. Jesus said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great fear and said to one another, "Who then is this that even the wind and the sea obey him?" The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. In our Bible study this past Wednesday, I began by asking the participants to imagine being on, in, or by an ocean, a lake, or a river. And then I asked, what images come to mind? The very first response was calm and peaceful. And that's exactly the response that I was hoping for. Because so often those are the kinds of images that come to our minds because they're etched in our minds through artwork and through personal experiences of being on a lake or at the ocean and feeling the peace and serenity of that. But also, as expected, the group quickly responded by sharing experiences that were anything but peace and calm. Things such as sneaker waves on the Oregon coast, cruise ships navigating through rough waters, fishing vessels capsizing in the Bering Sea, drownings on the Willamette River. Those are a few of the images that also come to mind when we realize how unpredictable and dangerous nature can be. Storms and raging waters in particular are a stark reminder of how little control we have over creation. In the very first book of the Bible, in the story from Genesis of creation, we read, "In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters." In biblical times, the deep represented danger and chaos. Storms and raging waters. Some believed that those were that in the sea was sea monsters and the presence of evil. And in the story of the Exodus, God's parting of the Red Sea saved the Israelites, but the same waters proved deadly for the Egyptians who were chasing after them. Instead of doing what God had instructed Jonah to do, warning the people of Nineveh to repent, Jonah set sail on a ship in the complete opposite direction. And when a raging storm kicked in and suddenly began swamping their boat, Jonah realized how angry God was with him. So he told the sailors to throw him overboard, and immediately the storm ceased. The Psalms are filled with images of raging storms and terrifying destruction. Yet there are also signs of God's power over evil and creation itself. Our grief over the presence of evil in this world, alongside our gratitude for our Creator God and the God who created everything good, can serve as a metaphor for ordinary people like you and like me. People who live in the quote-unquote real world. We know what it's like. And God knows the storms of this life are raging all around us, all the time. Evil and chaos will continue to rear their ugly heads, and the threat of evil monsters disguised as humans often disrupt our sleep and bring fear to our waking hours. In his commentary on today's gospel, Tom Wright suggests that Mark's invitation to the disciples may very well have been to pray to Jesus in their anger because Jesus was sound asleep, and in their desperation because they thought they were perishing. But Jesus' invitation to the disciples, and dare I add to us, actually comes at the very beginning of our gospel reading when Jesus said, "Let us go ahead to the other side." While a few brave souls may jump aboard without a moment's hesitation, let's face it, most of us, I think, would be hesitant at best about getting in the boat with Jesus because we know it's going to prove to be dangerous and scary, and it can certainly disrupt our lives. Besides that, we never fully know what's on the other side. That is, until we get there. But here's what I think we can take away from today's gospel to kind of reassure us. Two things. First, that Jesus is in the boat with us. And second, that there will inevitably be storms along the way, and there will be waves that will beat upon our proverbial boats. That is true. We can count on those two things. But there are also two things I hope you'll find reassuring. First, there is absolutely nothing to be afraid of because Jesus is in the boat with us. And second, Jesus has power to rebuke whatever waves and storms come our way. And so in faith, we're invited to cross over to the other side, trusting that Jesus is indeed in the boat with us, and that Jesus has the power to calm whatever storms rock those boats of ours. And of this you can be sure. Jesus will bring us safely to the other side. When those storms come, and they will come, I invite you to cling to God's promise. We sang it in that opening hymn, "On Christ the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand." Cling to God's promise that through the death and resurrection of Jesus, God has already secured our future. And God will never abandon nor forsake us. Indeed, our God will bring us all safely to the other side, no matter what. So help us, God. By way of example of trusting in God's promises, I want to share a story with you about the writer who penned the words to the hymn, "When Peace Like a River." The story goes like this. On the advice of their family physician, Horatio G. Spatford planned a European trip for his family for his wife's health. At the last minute, he had to remain in Chicago. But intending to follow them in a few days, he sent his wife and his 4 daughters ahead of him. And they set sail on the SS Villa du Havre. Tragically, on November 22nd, 1873, their ship was struck by the English ship Lochern. Within 12 minutes, it sank, taking the lives of all 4 of his daughters. His wife and the other survivors landed in Wales on December 1st. Spatford wrote the words to the hymn, "When Peace Like a River," while aboard the ship as he sailed to meet up with his wife. I've paraphrased that story, but it was written in a volume of examples of where our hymns come from and where the tunes to those hymns come from. And in a moment, we're going to be joining our voices in song in the words of When Peace Like a River, that very hymn that Horatio G. Spafford penned on the ship as he set sail to meet his grieving wife and as his heart was heavy with grief. And as we join our voices in song, my hope is that those words will penetrate our hearts and remind us that whatever happens, whatever comes our way, we can still sing out in gratitude to our God. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. Thanks be to God.